Hi, my name is Chandra Laboy. I'm a member of First Parish Congregational Church in Wakefield, and I'm here to introduce Pastor John Dale, our new senior pastor, and get to know him a little bit better. So, hi, Pastor John.
Hi, Chandra.
How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for doing this with me.
Yeah, thanks for having this time together. I'm excited. All right, well, one of the first things we want to do is just ask you a little bit to tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe something fun and interesting that you think people might want to know.
Sure. So my name is John Dale. I've been pastor at First Parish since April, actually since Palm Sunday. I was born in Peekskill, New York, Westchester County, about 35 miles north of Manhattan. Incidentally, my wife is also from Peekskill as well, and we met in church after we both got done with our first round of college. So that's kind of a little interesting thing. And Peekskill's, being near New York City, it's kind of similar, although we're a lot closer to Boston than Peekskill was to New York City. Anyway, I was raised in a church-going family. Read Bible, heard about God and Jesus Christ from very early on in life, which was a good thing. And got married in the same church that I grew up in with Kathy. And
how sweet.
Yeah, had 2 children there. They were both dedicated in that church, First Baptist Peekskill. My son is now married, because I'm old, so they're old. I'm not really old, but my son is 36. He's married to Amber, and they live in Lancaster. And my daughter, Erin, is married to Mark, and I think you've met them. If not,
yes.
Some of you here in Wakefield will get to see them because they'll be singing in a few days, and I'll talk about that later. But they live in Wareham on the South Shore. So we've been here since April, and we're settling in, and we're just glad to be here.
Super.
Yeah.
Okay, so I bet a lot of people, might ask you this question, but what led you to become a minister? Why did you choose that as your profession?
When I was a young, middle school age child, I made what they call a profession of faith in my church. I believed that I was a sinner, which means I've done things that are against what God commands us to do. And so I became a follower of Christ and was baptized and joined my local church and was very involved at that point in youth group, and ended up going to my first year of Bible college. And it was really during that time in college I felt, God wanted me to do something. I wasn't quite sure. So as I continued in college, I enlisted in the Army Reserve for a while and thought that might be a career, and that didn't work out as a career. So I was going to be a history teacher. And as I was studying a lot of history, I was kind of thinking of doing a lot of Bible as well.
Right.
And during that time, it seemed evident that I was liking the Bible piece more, and that God was saying, you're not going to teach history, you're going to be a minister.
Oh.
And it's hard to explain a calling on your life, but it's something it's like gnawing at you, and it doesn't go away. And so you might try other things. I got married when I was 22. I worked all kinds of jobs while doing school. And, the temptation is, well, maybe the calling thing's not going to happen. I'm just going to, work in various companies and raise my family. But if my wife were here, she'd say, yeah, that calling never went away.
Right.
And so when we were 29, I was 29, we went to Michigan, took our first church out there near Detroit. And we've been doing that ever since 1989 now. So we're in our 30 years of completion and in our 31st year.
So you served as a minister in Michigan, and where else have you served?
Our first church was in Michigan, and then we came back to New York near Pittsfield, Mass, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Then Freeport, Illinois.
Wow.
Then Kingston, Massachusetts, and then Speculator, New York, and now First Parish, Wakefield, Massachusetts. So 6th and final stop right here.
Yay.
This is it.
Great. Okay, so with all those different places that you've lived and served, what made you choose to come back to Massachusetts or come to Massachusetts? So this is your first time?
Second time in Massachusetts.
Second time, right.
Yeah, 11 years in Kingston.
Kingston.
This is my 12th year in Massachusetts. We love Massachusetts, and actually Kathy's mother, who lives with us, is born in Ludlow. And I actually had family that were raised in Massachusetts as well. So it wasn't a strange state to me. I've been rooting for the Red Sox since 1986.
I knew that.
And also have rooted for the Patriots since they lost to the Bears. Things have gotten a lot better for them though, since that loss, and I've rooted for them since then. So we had a connection with Massachusetts, with family. And while we were serving out in New York, we were introduced to the possibility of coming to First Parish. And along with a calling to ministry, I think if you're in ministry, you always should remain open to the Holy Spirit's direction as to if a change is going to happen or wanting you to go somewhere else. And God is a neat way, too, of providing for your needs. So needs of family. Kathy's father had passed away, and so we were caring for Mindy, her mother. We were in a very remote place. And so it was like God began opening doors to bring us back to a metro area. And who knew it would be like this historic church in its 375th year,
Right.
A church that hasn't had a steady pastoral leadership for about 6 years, but a church that is very warm and open and wanting to grow and just reconnect with the community where it is. And we have such a beautiful location right on the lake. Everybody
Yes.
knows where the stone church is.
Right.
And so it's been a really neat opportunity. We've been here a little over 5 months now and just kind of feeling our way, getting to know both the congregation and the community. And we've been welcomed very nicely. And we're very excited about being at First Parish, being in a historic church, so much history. A church that has, stayed true to the Christian faith all these years. All these pastors, we were trying to remember how many pastors have been at First Parish, and it's quite a few. Many who stayed a long time, but they've remained faithful, and God has allowed that church to remain. And now I get to be a part of that history and to continue the preaching of the gospel here in Wakefield. It's a great privilege.
Kind of ties in your love for history with you.
It does.
Love for
And
ministry.
I'm still reading history books. I just finished the history of Nantucket.
Oh.
And read 1776, which is a classic. So a lot of history. There's a man in our church that keeps giving me history books, so I'm reading a lot of history again, which I enjoy. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Okay, well, so kind of tying back to that, with all the new up-and-coming churches out there, what made you choose a church that's about to celebrate its 375th anniversary? What was the draw for you?
Okay, well, we talked on it a little bit, but I think we can expand on that a little bit. I think one of the interesting things about First Parish, again, is that although it's been there such a long time, there aren't many churches in this country that were founded in 1644 that
That's
are still
right.
open.
That's right.
Even in Plymouth, where the Pilgrims were, the church was founded in 1620. It's not really continually in operation as a church like we are. I don't know if there's 100 churches as old as ours that are still operating. And then to continue the uniqueness of the message of the gospel. And one of the thoughts I had about that question was that within the various religions of the world, there's all these variations, whether it's Judaism or Islam, and even Christianity. And so one of the draws for me as a member of the Conservative Congregational Christian Conference, which the First Parish affiliated with about 5-6 years ago, was the draw to remain faithful to the original gospel message and the original thoughts concerning Scripture and the early writings of the church, and wanting to continue sharing that message with this world that we live in. And I probably would not be a part of a church that didn't want to do that. And First Parish wants to continue those traditions. So we have other Christian churches in our community, and we have other groups here. But we're unique in that we're a part of this Conservative Congregational Christian Conference. And so we hold to those traditions from even going back to the founding of the church and even the Pilgrims and the founding of Massachusetts.
Right.
The Puritans and the Separatists. We come right out of all that history, and it's neat to be a part of that. But the most important thing is the gospel, that Christ died for our sins, He rose from the dead, and that we find forgiveness and salvation and a better way to live life now.
Right.
To be freed from sin, not just eternally, but now we can live differently. and change our lives and just have peace and hope
Right.
in a world that so desperately needs that.
And hope, yeah. So, in keeping with that, how do you find First Parish keeping itself relevant in 2019 and beyond?
Well, I think for us to remain relevant, and this is a tricky one because you have to continue to tell the truth, and the truth of the gospel, which I won't reiterate it again, but a lot of churches have chosen rather to do that, to alter their message, hopefully maybe try to appeal to different people, but in a way they've lost who they are by trying to do that. And I think to remain relevant, we still have to remain true to what's written in the scriptures and true to the message that Christ died for us, and that's our hope. And to remain relevant, we have to do that. Now, we've done other things as well. We have a traditional service at 9:30, so if you're watching and you're looking for a new church, 9:30, very traditional service. 11 o'clock, we do a contemporary. So one way to be relevant is some of the worship styles have changed. And, some people like that, some people don't. It's interesting, when the Salvation Army started a long time ago, they were criticized because they used like tubas and trumpets, and they would march through the streets of England and different places playing these instruments, and they would take songs that were popular in the bars and put Christian lyrics to them.
Right.
And they were criticized for that. And we understand that there are some who prefer the traditional hymns, and they are lovely. They're rich with doctrine and great meaning, Amazing Grace, songs like that, The Old Rugged Cross. But we also can appeal to younger people, or those who aren't as young, but who just grew up with a different flavor of music, and offer both varieties, and so remain relevant that way as well by offering something different.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. It's exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
And Chandra, by the way, folks, she sings with our Cornerstone, our band, so she knows what we're talking about
Come
with,
on, see us.
the music. So yeah, come and
Yeah.
see us, 11 o'clock.
Yep. What have you enjoyed most about joining the Wakefield community? What are some nice
Oh, my
surprises you
goodness.
found being part of Wakefield?
Well, here's a funny one. I love the pizza. I love pizza. So
Me
we
too.
have a lady at church besides you too that told me about pizza. So where I was in upstate New York, very hard to find thin crust cooked the way I like it. But anyway, there's a lot of choices here. There's a lot of pizza
Yeah.
places. Haven't tried them all, but I'm working my way through them.
Yep.
And so that's just a little thing. The Chinese food here is good too. But
Yes.
we all like to eat. So.
Yeah.
But I've been very involved from the time I've gotten here. I'm joining the Rotary next week, and been
Great.
involved with the Rotary. I've had an opportunity to get to know, the local police department and the food pantry, just the town council. We were just with them, and so just getting to know people, going to the library and connecting with people there. It's a community that's really just the layout of the town. Everything is right there in front of you, and it's really easy to interact with people. I go to the chamber breakfast occasionally and connect with the Chamber of Commerce, and I was amazed at how many, there's like 30, 40 people that are members of that, businesses in our community. So just a lot of opportunity to connect with people, which I had missed that. So it's just a wonderful, and we see people at church too. We have AA groups at our church. We have the Scouts at our church. We have the Y at our church.
Yeah.
And so just interacting with all these different groups of people. Plus we offer Bible studies and different things that if you're out there and you're looking for that kind of thing, it's available at First Parish. So you can connect with the town and the church.
Great.
So
It doesn't hurt that the location is so amenable to seeing lots and lots and lots of people.
It is. I have walked the lake halfway once, so I'm working my way up to the lake walk.
It's hard to do that in those boots. You gotta put
you
your
can't do
sneakers
it.
on.
Yeah, I did. But it's I'm not up to the 4 mile or so walk yet. But I'll get there.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
Awesome. How would you like to see First Parish moving into the future, working in community with Wakefield?
Well, again, just reconnecting. I think connection's important. Part of being relevant is, interacting with the community, the members of the church, just getting more involved with their own family, their own friends, their co-workers. A lot of people in Massachusetts in particular are what we call unchurched. They might go occasionally, but they really have no permanent affiliation, no church family, no church home. And so it'd be great as our church grows that we just connect and make connections with people in our community and surrounding communities, and invite them to church. Just be invitational. I know that our church isn't necessarily right for everybody, but we'd love for you to give it a try. And if you're not affiliated with a church or never even been to a church, this is a great opportunity. So we'd love to have you. And people come in. It's an old building. It was built in like 1912. The stained glass windows are over 100 years old, and you really don't see that kind of thing anymore. And some people are drawn to just the beauty of the sanctuary, and it's a very peaceful, worshipful place.
Yes.
And you can come and try that out, and you might find God there, because He's there. So we'd invite you to come.
Great. Awesome. Well, those are the questions that I have.
Okay, good.
What is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
We're just Kathy, my wife, and I are we're glad to be here. We're looking forward to many years of fruitful ministry, and we're excited about the future here in Wakefield. We think the church has a great future. We're just praying that God will open doors and hearts of people. And I use that word connect a lot, but life on life is a phrase I use a lot too. And love God, love others, make disciples. Our own church has our 4 E's, and Chandra and I are going to share those with you together. So this is kind of like part of our vision of our church. Right. And so the first one is exalt, and edify, equip, and then evangelize. So I like to add, exalt Christ, and then edify Jesus and the church, right? And then equip the church, and then evangelize really the world. I mean, we leave our surrounding area of Wakefield, and we have missionaries that we support and things like that. Right. But it's a great vision, and so again, if that's something that interests you, we'd love you to come and be part of our vision.
Right.
So thank you, Chandra, for asking all these awesome questions. I hope it'll help people get to know me better, and now they'll know you as well a little better. So
thanks for joining us. We've really been delighted with having you and your fun attitude.
I'm
and
different, yes.
Yeah, and your musical talents and all of that. And it's just been a joy to have you, and Kathy and Mindy too.
We're glad to be here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.